All right. Good morning, everybody. Oh, shoot. What have I done? I just did something. I lost everybody. Sorry about that. Hope everybody's doing well. Happy Tuesday and welcome to the Columbia Chamber webinar. Um, we are really delighted today to have Ron Harvey with Global Core with us. Ron has been a huge advocate of the Chamber over the last few years and big help to me personally. But Ron has been chair of our small business committee. He has been on our board of directors and really brings a lot of just a wealth of knowledge right now on leadership. And he is what he learned in the military, he's sharing with many small business owners around town. So with that, I'm going to introduce Ron, but let me just, Ron, before I kick it over to you, let me just say, Ron is open and willing to have as many conversation, answering many questions that y'all may have. Feel free to put them in the chat box at the bottom of the page. Just click on chat. If you have a question for Ron, feel free to ask anytime, and he is gracious enough to answer those. So, Ron, I'm going to flip it over to you, but thanks. I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today.
Yeah, and Carl, thanks to you and the entire team over at the Chamber, for inviting me to do this. I mean, so I'm honored to do it, and I'm actually excited to always do something that's going to help people in the community, especially at a time like this. So it's an honor to do it, and so I do it willingly. And so thank you for everything that you've done, and that you continue to do. So we'll get started to be able to share. And so when they invited me first, we tried to figure out, what do we have a discussion around that's going to be useful and beneficial that will help you figure out some of the things that you may be stressing over right now, like the rest of the world. We do a call every Monday morning, and I'm on that call with people from across the globe internationally. And you'll be amazed that some of the same stories or songs or music that you're playing in your head is played all over the world right now. People don't have answers. So there are more questions than answers. I know you've heard that before, and you'll probably hear it for at least the next year. There's just things we don't know. I'll tell you my military background. When we landed in Iraq, it was a complete desert. And we got an opportunity. The Star Trek thing is the new frontier. Well, I think we're seeing the new frontier across the world right now. And we get to be a part of it, or we get to complain about it. And so I got it with the frustration, but that new frontier, how do we, as a community, as a society, or business owners, begin to create the new frontier? Because it will be new. We're all in unknown territory. We don't know if COVID is going to leave or stay. We don't have that answer. And there's some really smart people trying to figure it out, but we just don't know. And what we do know is that we have another chance to help fix it, make it better. And if COVID is going to hang around, what do you do? How do you do business if COVID doesn't go away? How do you do business? If it becomes like the flu every year, then that means the way we do business will not ever be the same. And so that's a good question for us. And so I kind of want to walk you through some slides. And I say that, any question that comes up, any statement, anything that you want to ask specifically, I am totally open to it, because I want you to walk away with something that's very useful. So what would I share with your leadership? That's the space that our company plays in. Our goal is to make sure that people that are running organizations, whether it's a religious organization, your family, or you're volunteering somewhere, there's someone sees you as a leader. And I think it's important that we can show up to take care of the people that depend on us the most when they need us the most. And right now, everybody's looking for leadership. Every single person saying who's going to stand out, who's going to do it. And even our company, the other small businesses that are paying attention to the way Global Core is operating, how we're sustaining, how we're staying positive, and they're using that as their energy to gain some momentum. So I want to be able to do that with you today. Is how do we help you show up as a leader that's going to make a huge impact? Because everybody's looking for that leader to do some things that everybody else is like, who is going to help us through this? So I want to be able to do that with you today. So I'll walk you through some slides. At any time, you can raise your hand, you can pause me, you can send a message over to Rose, and she's monitoring the chat box for us. I will stop and answer your question and then get back. So the slide is a guide, and it's just a way for us to have a conversation. What do employees need from leaders right now? Trust. And that's easy to say, but hard to deliver on. The one thing that leaders are going to have to be able to do is earn every ounce of trust that you get, because there's so much inconsistency right now, and there's so much that's not known right now, that people are struggling with trusting everything that's being said. Here's what I teach a lot of our leaders. People are listening to what you do and they're watching what you say. And I know that sounds awkward and it sounds different because it is different. People are listening to what you do. So your actions are louder than your words right now. You can say just about anything you want to say right now, but people are going to say, well, let's see if your audio matches your video. So what do people need? They need you to display what you say. If you say you're going to do it, then you kind of want to make sure. So communication is going to be huge for you. Be very quick, be clear, and be very consistent as a leader to make sure that you can build trust. And the minute that you slow down on not sharing because you're fearful of how people are going to respond to it, whether they like it or not like it, if you don't tell me something and you know it's going to be bad tomorrow and you don't tell me until after it's over, you lose trust. And so there are a lot of things that leaders are going to have to make some really, really tough decisions right now. That's not going to be great for everybody. There are going to be people that's going to be, and this may be sensitive, but it's real. There are going to be people that are going to lose jobs behind this. People that are going to be laid off or furloughed or not come back into the workplace. If you're a leader and you know that's coming, please get to the table as soon as you can with everybody that's going to be impacted and share that data with them immediately. Because they have other obligations outside of just showing up for work for us. They have families and kids and loved ones and bills and rent and light. Please, 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 as a leader, get them around the table as soon as you're aware of it and tell them what you're thinking, the story you're having with yourself, and they may give you some insight onto how to deal with it better than the way that you're thinking. So please build trust. And the way to do that is be quick, clear, and consistent in your conversation. They also need compassion from us. They need to know we care. They need to know we feel their pain, we understand, we're there with them, and they need for us to listen. So compassion is going to be super important. You see on there also stability. Right now, there's so much uncertainty. I think for leaders, at least for our organization and for me as a husband, is that there are people that depend on me to at least make it as stable as it can during times of uncertainty. Now, there's a lot I don't know, but there are some things I can do to still make it feel stable. Even as our organization, I don't know where we'll be at a year from now. I know we won't be the company we were 6 weeks ago. And I'm okay with saying that. And so leaders, it's okay not being okay. And I think leaders sometimes think they got to be okay every day for everybody. I think that's unrealistic. I think all of us are going to have a bad day or a bad moment or some things that just don't make us feel good in our guts. And we've done everything right and it still doesn't feel right. And I don't know if you have to furlough or lay someone off or you got to shut down. I don't know how you feel okay about that. Not if you're a real human being and you're authentic. And so it's okay not to be okay. So I tell leaders, stability is important and it's okay to tell people you're not feeling okay. And the other thing I have on the slide for us is, as you're gazing out, as you see the picture on the screen, is people are looking for hope. We're in it together. And oftentimes we don't talk about that, but people need something at the end of the tunnel that says, hey, we're going to be okay. And I hear a lot of people say this too shall pass. Yeah, it will. But what would I lose as we're waiting for the passing moment? There will be some losses. And can we talk about that? Whether it's loss of relationships, loss of contact, loss of friendships, loss of a loved one, loss of a car or a house, or loss of revenue. If you look at your stock market right now, I would probably tell you not to, unless you just want to take medication later or end up with some wine in your hand. Don't look at your stock market because it's not good for anybody. But there are some losses there associated for all of us. And the last thing on this slide before I move forward, and then I'll pause to see if there are any questions. Transparency. Now is not the time to kind of hold all the information and say, I'm just going to keep it until I think it's the right time to tell it. That's probably the worst decision that you can make as a leader is don't be transparent. If you know it's bad, I think it's super important that you kind of share that information and get around the table. Some of the best decisions for Global Core that I've ever made came from the people in our company and didn't come from Ron Harvey. And I know people see me out and then I'm the face of the company, but there are a lot of people that make this company work. I would love to think I'm that smart. Not really. If you see the person that's watching over my shoulder, who you guys don't see that often in public, she does a lot of stuff to make sure this company flies. There's someone watching this webinar in our company outside of me to make sure that I'm doing what I should be doing for you guys. So use your entire team everybody. Even if you'll be amazed when you have to like tell someone that you don't have the revenue to pay them. You'll be amazed how many people in my company are still working, even in the midst of we had to, take some cost reduction as well. We reduced our profit margins. We did that to be a good partner with our clients. And I still got people showing up doing the same amount of work because it comes from transparency. So small business owners, if you're like, we're doing most of our stuff online, I had to look at our profit margins, and I made a conscious decision as a leader that we're going to reduce our profit margin because we had CEOs losing jobs, we had people getting laid off, we had people getting fired, we had people losing stuff. And I felt to be a good partner that we had to say that we would sacrifice something as well. And so we're sacrificing our profit margin is not what it used to be. And I'm totally okay with that. I didn't reduce my costs. I just, and said, hey, we're just going to charge less. No, we looked at it and said, where do we cut costs as well? And we pass those savings on to our clients. So we cut costs as well to make sure that we can pass it along to all of our partners. So I think everybody as a leader, where do you make some sacrifices is super important because it'll build trust. If you think you should be paid the same amount for what you were doing when you were showing up physically, I don't know if that's realistic. I just don't see it being realistic as a leader of our company, that if I'm doing this virtually, I'm in my home office, I'm nice and comfortable. I didn't drive anywhere. I didn't produce anything except for what Zoom was allowing us to produce. There are some things that I save money on that I should also pass those savings on to our partners. And so just pay close attention. What are you charging for that you should not be charging for right now? So you can look like a real partner. It builds trust. Let me pause because I need a break and I want to make sure I hear what you got to say.
Hey, Ron, we don't have any questions in the chat at the moment, so
okay.
I'm monitoring it for you.
I guess that's good information. So if that's good information, let's see if we can spin up the chat real quick. If there's something that you've walked away with, can you drop something in the chat, at least let us know that you're out there with us and you're hanging out? And what are you walking away with so far that I said that made sense to you? Let's see if you can, and this is really development too, so I'm a developmental person. I want to make sure you can use the chat. This is new for everybody. So if you can drop something in the chat, what's one takeaway so far that I've shared that has helped you?
There we go. Thank you, guys. Hi, Ron. You've helped me stay confident in myself that I can lead my team.
Okay. Thank you for that.
They're all coming in so fast now, I can't keep up with them.
That's fine. Take your time. I'm okay with it because I think it's important for us to hear from our community.
Okay. Transparency and having difficult conversations up front. The idea of transparency is critical. It's okay to tell people you are not okay. Stay honest even when the information is uncertain or hard to hear. Hello, Ron. Be real with people. Hey, Scott. Good to see you on. Communication.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That trust is a must.
I like that. That kind of rhymes. That goes together. Trust is a must. Whoever wrote that, tell them I'm going to use it.
I think that's a marketing guy.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's a marketing guy, Ron.
Yes.
Let me see, make sure I got them all. Yes, transparency and reevaluate what we should expect from others. Many individuals are uncomfortable with loss. Take the time to evaluate the loss and address the issue. Recovery,
Yes.
action.
Yes.
Transparency is critical. I'm a communicator and am very transparent with our team. Good to hear that reinforcement that we are doing what is right.
Yes. Thank you.
Authenticity is critical.
Yeah, and as you guys are putting this in the chat, we'll teach you how to save it because as you're going to develop your team, it's super important that you go back and look at what people are sharing so you don't feel like you're on an island by yourself.
Yeah, they're starting to slow down now, Ron.
Okay,
So
awesome.
I think
Thank
we
you
have
for sharing. I'll go to the next one. Thank you guys for sharing. I appreciate that because I want it to be a conversation with you versus talking at you. That's just my personality, is to really engage you and allow you to share what you're thinking. There are a lot of experts on this call with us. So conversations matter. And what I mean by that is super important is be willing to have the conversations. One of the things I think leaders will have to do is use technology to your advantage. Can you imagine going through COVID without the internet? I mean, if we think we got problems, if we did not have this thing called social media, and I know that they're saying they want us to do social distancing, I will tell you that social distancing does not mean isolation. And so oftentimes we'll think of that, but people as humans, we're built and designed to connect with people. So take an opportunity as a leader to reach out to 3 to 4, if you're running a team, you shouldn't be invisible with your team. Visibility gives you accessibility. And when you're in front of that individual, begin to have conversations and get to know people. And, before this, I was on one of my clients, at 9:30. And I kind of went around, when was the last time you really went around your team and shared with people what it is that you value about them the most? When's the last time you were very intentional to look everybody in the faces on your team and say, hey, Rose, I appreciate you for this. Carl, I appreciate you for this. Henry, I appreciate you for this. And all the other people. When's the last time you intentionally did that? Because people want to feel valued. And if you want them to hang around, you got to give them a reason to hang around, which is just take a minute once a day, reach out to 3 or 4 people and actually share with them in a conversation, because it matters that people know what you're thinking without having to guess why you value them. And you'll be amazed if you go around in a round table at your next meeting, have everybody go around and just share what they appreciate about everybody that's on that team. Some people are going to struggle because they haven't paused long enough to really realize, why do I value this person? What is it? And that person will continue to show up. So engagement comes from people being engaged. So conversations will always matter, and be able to show. Oftentimes we can point out the deficit, but I don't think we spend a lot of intentional time. If you have young kids, most of us, if you're on this call and you have children, please pour into them all the positive things that you want them to know. People ask me about COVID, and I think I shared with you guys, and the last time we spoke with the chamber in small business, is the whole world is talking about small business right now. I'm super excited. That's a positive for me. The other thing, people ask me, my daughter's home, just like, the schools are closed for the year. What's the positive in that? Because some people are looking at the negative in that. Well, the positive for me, I can be assured, like right now, there will not be any school shootings. That's a plus for me, because that was getting out of control. That was driving us absolutely nuts, that our schools were getting out of control. And now parents are forced to be engaged with their own children, be teachers to their own children, be more engaged with their own children, and begin to get our children ready to go back and make our schools safer again. We were getting disconnected from our kids in our school system. So the positive for me as a dad with a 6th grader is I get to be more engaged in helping this young lady be a better student. And I can't pass the buck now. I can't put her to the principal's office. I'm the principal. I can't put her in school suspension, because that's just like in her bedroom. I actually got to understand my child more. And so I think that part is super important. What's the good stuff? My daughter grades have gone up since she's been home. She's identified who she is since she's been home. She's been a good student, but her grades have increased. And I actually begin to understand what she's doing now. So I know you think business here, but let's be real. It's not a work-life balance anymore. It's work-life integration. So when you get on Zoom, you're going to see little kids in the background. You're going to hear a dog barking. You're going to see people walk in offices. You got to be okay with life is different. And so if my daughter walks in right now, I'm okay with that. I'm not going to lose a lid because she comes in or she needs my help. I'm probably going to pause my camera, mute myself, answer her question, and then continue on with what I got to do here. So life is going to be different. So conversations matter. Have the conversation. That thing that you're nervous about, talk about it. If you want the mess to go away, you got to address the mess. Whatever is the biggest fear, just talk about it. You'll be amazed. They're probably happy that you're going to do it. So conversations do matter. So start having conversations with your workforce. Right now, our country is in a position. We have a financial crisis, and I'll call it hardship. And we'll also have a public health risk. And if you did a poll right now, the country's split right down the middle. Public health risk, financial hardship. There are some people, you get the local person that's working at a Walmart, and I'm just saying Walmart because most of us know that company. Those people have to go to work, or they run the risk of not being able to pay mortgage, or keeping their lights on, or feeding their families. So they have to pick the worst of the two evils. Go out there and fight the battle and hope they don't get COVID, or lose all of their possessions in the thing of taking care of their family. That's real for us. Both are serious. So as business owners, I'm having those conversations. Public health, financial hardship, both are valid. How do we as a country, how do we as business owners, how do we as leaders have those conversations? Because public health, I think it's a public health thing that's really driving it, that's causing an economic problem. They're both in the same conversation, but if we don't fix the public health thing, no matter what happens, finances will be taking a hit. We got to get better at the public health piece. We have to. That's super important. And so I would say that both are super important, but public health is what caused us to have the financial hardship right now. If we fix the public health problem, and so regardless of when the country opens, whether it's tomorrow or the next day or next month, business will not be the same. So my question to all business owners, what conversations will you be having to make sure we're safe? Don't make it just about your bottom line. You can make all the money, but if your health goes down, you'll watch all that money leave because so let's start the health piece and maybe we can save a little bit more money. Okay, so I'm gonna move off of this slide. Anything that's showing up for us, Rose? You're on mute, Rose. I can't hear you. It's technology. We're good. Go ahead.
All right, guys. We have one comment. Great conversation, Ron. Pretending that people don't have lives outside of their work isn't prudent anymore. We are all human, and I think that this will be one of the biggest takeaways out of COVID-19.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it'll be business. It won't be business as usual. Here's what I will tell you from my military experience, and I pull from all. I have 21 years of military service, 2 deployments, you know, educated, all the stuff that you want to call it. At the end of the day, the playing field is level for all of us. Doesn't matter your degree, your paycheck, your zip code, your house, your car. Everybody's impacted by this. The playing field is level. Here's what I've learned from the military. No matter how much technology we have, the most important thing for the military was always the person. Because if the soldier gets sick and we can't show up, the country's at risk. If your people can't show up, no matter what you're selling, how fast you are, how quick you are, if your people can't show up, your company is in trouble. The most important, and people have been saying it for years, but I think we've kind of been saying it, but not really delivering on it. Because in our society, people feel guilty about calling out sick. Think about it. Look in your companies. People actually feel guilty based on the culture of your company, which is what we focus on. What's the culture? If the culture is I can't call out sick and you're going to call me, you know, like I'm not a team player, you're going to ostracize or minimize me because I'm sick, I guarantee you now when someone's sick, you're going to probably call in for them and tell them don't come in. That's going to be super important for us. We need people to stay home that are sick, and it's okay to stay home that they're sick. It's actually okay. And you actually empower people to make that decision without feeling guilty. I can tell you after 21 years in the military service and working in corporate America, sometimes I felt guilty calling in because I didn't want to let anybody down or I didn't want to hear anybody's mouth. And so I just made my way through it. And actually, I probably came in and got someone else infected with the flu because I just didn't want to listen to anyone's mouth. So pay attention to your culture. If people feel guilty about calling in, I would ask you to check your culture. Matter of fact, I actually do one better. Call Global Core so we can help you with your culture. Because that's going to be huge as we go forward. What's the culture in your workforce? Containing the virus and restarting the economy, there are a lot of questions we just don't know yet. Both are very, very important. But I will pause and ask a question for you. If we're going to restart and we're going to go back in, what are the top 3 things that you're going to have to do in your company that will not be the same that you were able to do? What do you have to change if we open up tomorrow? I'll pause there. Let's see what they come up with chat.
I'm monitoring the chat and I'm off mute.
Okay. Yeah, what's 1 or 2 things you could put in chat that you're going to have to do different? Because the economy is going to open. We need to get back to business. America has always been, you know, one of those countries that go out there and get things done, but we got to be safe. What would you do different to make sure we're safe? Let's see if anybody's dropping anything. I can see numbers over here as well populating.
Hey, Ron, instead of typing, I'm just going to ask you a quick question while I'm unmuted.
Okay.
For us as a chamber, we're trying to figure out what partners need and how do we interact with partners when we've been an event-driven organization for years. I mean,
Yes.
for us to have a comfort level, we've got to recognize how comfortable our partners are in re-engaging and having face-to-face meetings after this. What do we need to do to ensure safety, but also recognize we've got a new norm?
Yeah, and I think you hit it. I think you started in the right direction, Carl, is break all the rules. I mean, what we used to do, like events, I don't know when people will be safe or feel safe for major events anymore. So virtual is going to become real. And what do you start to do to make sure that people feel safe about it? So do we have all the resources? We have all the things, all the stuff to make people feel safe. Can we practice social distancing? What does it look like? You know, before you think about it, you go to a restaurant now, as much as we would go out and we didn't second guess going to a restaurant and picking up that utensil, I guarantee you everybody will now. You know, that utensil or sitting in that chair or going into a park or getting on a bus or going to a dressing room and trying on some clothes. Now, when you try those clothes on, guess what? Who wants to put that outfit on again? What do companies do with that thing in the dressing room that someone was able to try on and just put it back on a hanger? Do you desanitize it? Do you have to have hazmat? Do you have to send it back in? I mean, everything that we do is going to be super different. You know, look at a rental car company. Is that car going to be sanitized when you do a rental car? What's going to happen? And so all the way to from the chamber, I think those are great questions, is I would do a poll with my organization and all of the partners, Carl, and say, what is it that they need to be safe? What are they concerned about? Because there are a lot of things. I just gave you about 5 or 6 off the top of my head. When I go to a restaurant, do I want plasticware now?
Mm-hmm. Ron, we got a couple of comments. Great points. A couple of comments are coming in. This is from someone in a dental office. Our business will have to figure out how to show compassion to our patients since we will have to be even more covered up now.
Yes. Yeah. Because there's a barrier because we're covered up, but how do we still engage and stay connected?
Another comment, developing a proactive plan to prepare for the long-term safety of our employees in regard to COVID and other pandemics, past and future.
Yes. And I'll cover it in the last, I'll give everybody 5 tips to talk about that. That's one of the things is you're going to have to go all in to be ahead of the game versus reactive. People are not going to wait for us to be reactive. They want to know.
Did Ron, okay, there you go. You froze for a minute there, but I think you're back now. Last comment in is check employee temperatures as they come to work.
Yeah, and pay attention to that, because when you're checking someone's temperature, that's actually a medical exam. Make sure you're not violating HIPAA when you're making those decisions. And so you're taking people's temperature. Everybody, honestly, you're just not authorized to do it because you feel like you want to do it. Make sure you're not violating people's rights. And people are going to want to do some things that will violate my rights as a human being. Please be check with your attorneys, check with your legal, and make sure you're not violating people's rights.
Is everyone on the call? Is Ron frozen at the moment?
Yeah, I'm switching my internet service, so I'm coming back over to you.
Okay. Now you're back. Now
I'm back. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the internet, guys. So get used to that. That's one of the changes. Be very, very comfortable with shifting as fast as you can because it will happen. Let me come back into everything for us.
Okay, we're good. I don't know if you heard our last comment about buffets. I think buffets have gone the way of the past.
Yes, yes. I'm pulling everything back up. I had to switch over because I was dropping my signal. So I switched over to, there we go. I switched over to a hotspot. So lesson learned, make sure that you have a backup because internet does drop.
Indeed it does. So I think the chats were slowing down, Ron.
Okay. So I'm gonna give us some tips, Rose. We're coming to the end stretch here. And so what I want to share with you, if you can see the screen, everybody can see the screen?
Yep.
Okay. So tip one, and a good friend of mine, Mike Perry, wrote an article about a week ago, and I got his permission to share the stuff that we're showing here. I collaborate a lot. There are a lot of people, business owners, that do exactly what I do all over the world. Please don't compete against them. Find a way for a small business owner, for anybody that's trying to figure it out. Find people that are doing what you do, and blend your services so you can actually serve more people. And so if you do what I do and you're in leadership and you're coaching and you're consulting, I don't see that as an intimidating factor. I actually see that as a force multiplier. And so don't get intimidated by people that do what you do. If they're doing it better than you, do some education and self-development. You know, make yourself as great as you think you ought to be to serve your client. So tip one, social responsibility. People must be your top priority. It's in the slide deck. You must ensure people first, people first. That's our motto. People always matter. So tip one, make sure social responsibility. Do everything you can to equip your employees to serve your customers. That's going to be huge. They'll show back up, but if your employees feel like they're in harm's way and they're going to get sick, you'll lose them quick and people will stop showing up. People are watching how well you're going to take care of your staff. If you don't do a good job of taking care of your staff, what makes you think I believe you're going to take care of your customer? If you own a company, your first employee, your first customer is your staff. Don't miss that point. If you own a company, your first customer is your staff. Second tip. I'm gonna show this to you to show you how quick we're gonna change, then I give you the next tip. If you have sound on, turn it down a little bit. It's a video and I can't control your sound. Things are going to change fast. And it's important for us to understand who do you want to be after COVID-19 and who do your clients need you to be after COVID-19? Because this is changing super fast. Robotics, AI, precision medicine, because COVID-19 has showed us that what treats one person doesn't treat another. They don't have an idea how it's going to impact the human being. So precision medicine is going to be super important. And so as you start thinking of business and you start thinking of how do you be relevant, pay attention to the stuff that's happening. It's super important that we be ready for the new reality. So tip 2, do the right thing just because it's the right thing. Don't wait for someone to tell you to take action. Don't wait for the government or some other organization. Just really do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. You know, you'll be amazed at how much it creates trust and transparency. Do the right thing for everybody. Leaders are expected to do the right thing. And so do that so without being forced to do so. Don't wait for a law for you to make sure that you're washing and wiping down everything. You know, and I'll talk about Costco in this because Costco, you know, they didn't have to do a lot of stuff that they're doing and it's costing them, but that's okay. Tip 3, go overboard to create a sense of confidence, safety. Don't just do the bare minimum to create confidence, safety for people. Everybody's nervous if they're going to get COVID or they're going to have financial hardship. People have those real questions. I think as leaders, it's important that we do everything we can, go overboard to make sure people feel safe. Costco, here's what they're doing. They're going through on a consistent basis to ensure that they wipe down every checkout area, all the gas pumps, every single customer, carts are clean. And they didn't wait for someone to tell them to do it. They did it because it was the right thing so people feel safe when they come into Costco. What can you do to make sure that people feel safe when they engage your business? At every level. Go overboard. It'll pay off later. Tip 4, whatever it takes, spend it. If you got to spend the money, spend it. Those that pay for it now will reap it later. And so it's a good investment. Everything you can do to ensure that people feel safe and that you're taking care of business, invest the money. Invest the money. Make sure that the signage is up. Make sure there are barriers in place. Make sure people know how to stay safe in your workplace. So do everything you can there. Last tip. Time is not on your side. You have to do it now. And when you see something that's not safe, respond immediately. Don't wait and sweep it under the rug. We just don't have time for that anymore. And so I will tell you as a leader, if we see it, you see something, say something and do something immediately. That's going to be important. So they're counting on us. So make sure that you take action immediately, or you'll lose revenue a lot more than you anticipated to lose if you don't respond. You know, so you'll lose some if you respond, but if you wait longer to respond, I mean, look at our country, regardless of what side, and I'm not a political guy and people know that, but regardless of what takes place, the longer you wait, the bigger it gets, the more it costs. That's just reality. That's any problem. The longer you ignore that problem, the more it costs you. So please respond. I'll pause here.
My fingers aren't moving quickly enough, Ron. Let's see, a couple of comments have come in. Love that, Ron. Be who your clients need you to be. I feel like we are in a position to really connect with clients and partners and learn what they truly want and need instead of what we think they need.
Yeah.
And then pay now or pay later.
Yes. Yeah. One of the things we've had to do is listen to our clients more. I mean, we've always done a decent job but now we're asking different questions. We're listening more. We're doing social media platforms like we're doing now because our clients still are bringing us in, you know, and we're doing it virtually. And so I actually pay attention to what they're saying. So don't assume that you know what they need. Just ask those questions. You know, case in point, I had a client that they brought us in and we did a conversation with them. And they came up with these new things they wanted us to produce and deliver. And after the conversation, my client says, hey, by the way, do you have a syllabus for that? I chuckled and laughed about it. I said, absolutely not. I said, I actually just found out what you need. So no sense in lying about it. I didn't have it ready. I said, no, I don't have it ready. This is new to us as well. Give us a couple days and we'll put something back in front of you. So don't put pressure on yourself and lie to your client and tell them you can do something or you have something you really don't have. Now, if you want to develop it and then deliver it later, just tell them the truth. And so that client is still a client of ours. I'll pause here and take questions. I know I shared a lot, gave out a lot of information. Hopefully that you got something away that's beneficial for you. I appreciate the opportunity to share with you. You see the sign behind us, Global Core. You can find us all over the place. We're a leadership company and we try to help the culture be great. We care about small business. We'll do everything we can. People always matter. That's what we live by. So if there's something we can do to help you, and you think there's something that we can help you become a better leader, we do a mastermind or a virtual leadership table every single Monday morning at 7:30, and you'll learn a lot from that. And it's no fee. It's really just for you to grow.
Ron, I got one last question, and boy, this one is a loaded one, but it says, based on your video, what is the role of people in the robotic area?
Yeah, which I think is, and when most people see that, Rose, people get nervous because they don't see people. And
Yeah.
so what I will tell you is that people are going to have to reskill and retool themselves, because here's the reality. 21 years in the military service, we shifted to AI and we shifted to rope. Humans did not go away. We just used them in a different way. I didn't go away with my client. I'm using technology to still do virtual retreats. I'm still doing leadership development. I'm still doing keynote speaking. I'm just doing it from here now. And so I think we're going to have to not let AI scare us or robotics scare us. It still will require human beings. What is it that you need to learn so you can fit into the new reality? And so it is a loaded question, but we got to retool ourselves. We got to reskill ourselves. Face to face, most people didn't want it. Most people honestly think about it. 65% of our country is working from home. If it wasn't for COVID-19, there are some leaders that's on this call right now that really did not want to do this and they were forced to do it. And it's working well. Some of your employees are not going to want to come back to the office for a variety of reasons. What's your plan to still keep them on staff? And they were productive at home. They were very productive. And so old school mentality is, I got to see them to assure that they're working is no longer the case. Think about USC. I mean, college students are going to challenge the fact now, do I really have to be in the classroom all them hours? Distance learning was not so positive, but I guarantee now everybody's thinking distance learning. So you can't think like we thought before this and think you're going to be successful. You're going to have to figure out, how do you fit into robotic and AI and precision medicine? What do you do differently? Because it will not be the same or you become irrelevant.
Ron, I've got one last question, and we are getting to the end of our time. I do want to remind everyone, if you have additional questions, if you will send them to info@columbiachamber.com. We are trying very hard as a team to find the answer, whether it's a question for Ron or for someone else. So we'll be working on that. But the last question is advice for those businesses that are shut down while watching other businesses do record sales. For example, gym owners looking at Home Depot.
Yes. Yeah. And what I would tell you for the business that are shut down, figure out, like, when it does open back up, what would that look like for you? And so right now, I know you're hurting. I know it's a hard time, and you're looking at whether you stay in business, and there's some things that you're responsible for. I totally get it. What I had to do is say, what can I do? Who can I support? What do I learn? So that when it does happen, that here's what I will tell you: build the runway so that when all the restrictions are lifted, that you can get off the ground again. Don't wait when we lift all restrictions that you're still sitting there saying, what do I do? Build the runway. An aircraft has to go to the gate and they got to refuel, reclean, restock, change passengers. You're at the gate right now. What are you doing so when you're released from the gate, you can take off again? There's a lot of stuff you don't have control of. You don't have control when it's going to open. You don't have control of a lot of things, but you do have control that you can be ready when the restrictions are lifted, and they will be lifted. I promise you they'll be lifted. Get ready so you can take off then.
Ron, I'm going to turn it back over to our CEO, but I'm going to throw this last question out there because I know someone's on the call that can help, but it's from a funeral business. Trying to provide leadership, especially to our clients in the face of grief, is extremely difficult. People just don't seem to understand. That's from Greg Turner. Greg, there's, I think Heather Lee is on our call, or
Yes.
I saw her name earlier. I will try to connect you two because I think she would have some really good help
Yes.
that she could reach out to you with.
Yes.
So with that.
Real quick before you turn it over to Carl, if you guys go to the chat box, if you pull it up in the bottom right-hand corner, there are 3 dots. If you click those 3 dots in the bottom of the chat, you can save it yourself and you don't have to lose sleep over where you're going to get it. That's a useful tool every time. So please save that so no one has to do extra work. You can save it and then you go back and read it and see what you learned from it today.
There's not a time that I don't learn something from Ron Harvey. In all my conversations, the saved chat may be the most helpful, Ron. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Appreciate it.
We appreciate you. Thanks everybody for joining us. We really, really appreciate it. We're going to do this again on Thursday, 11 o'clock. If you need something from us, give us a call at the Columbia Chamber. We're in a brand new world headquarters, 1225 Lady Street. We're not unpacked, but we're here and trying to help our partners. So thanks for tuning in. We will catch up with you soon. Ron, thanks again. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you. Everybody be safe.